Alright lads, welcome back to another War Thunder vehicle review. Today we're going to be taking a look at the A-5C, a video that I have previously covered. But with all the metas changing recently, as well as this plane receiving a CCIP for its cannons, bombs and rockets, I strongly believe that this plane is one of the best grinders currently in War Thunder. This plane was developed from the Q-5A, a plane designed in China. Due to Pakistan losing the Indo-Pakistan War in the 1980s, they set about trying to acquire a new fleet of ground attackers, as they believed their lack of this was one of the reasons why they lost this war. They turned to the Chinese and started receiving the Q-5A. With Pakistan being an ally of the Americans at the time though, the A-5C would receive Western avionics, as well as ordnance and air-to-air missiles. This makes it rather a unique plane in game, and if you've played any matches around the 10.0 area recently, you'll probably know that this jet is borderline overpowered. But anyway lads, the A-5C is a rank 6 premium in the Chinese tech tree, currently sitting at battle rating 10.0 in arcade, realistic and simulator. It'll set you back 10,000 silver lines to put this thing in your lineup, and for the expert in Ace qualification, it's 1,510,000 silver lines for the expert, and 2,800 golden eagles for the ace qualification. So with its high top speed and good energy retention, is it worth picking up the A-5C? Or just like the Yak-38, is this plane only good due to its missiles? Well, if you'd like to know the answer to that question, stick around for the rest of the video. Alright lads, welcome back. Jumping straight into it, this jet is powered by two Shenyang Liming WP6A3 engines. Each of these engines produces 3,710 kilos of thrust when afterburning. This is a very large amount of thrust and does give the plane a very good top speed and rate of climb. The latter of which is 162 meters per second with clean wings, but when carrying two air-to-air missiles, that drops down to around 150 meters per second, which at battle rating 10.0 is still incredibly good. The top speed of this jet is also pretty good. When carrying a full complement of missiles, rockets and air-to-ground bombs, you can still punch through the Mach 1 barrier, only just though. And with clean wings at a height of 7,000 meters, you can achieve a top speed of 1,400 kilometers per hour. This makes you one of the fastest jets at battle rating 10.0, which does allow you to outrun pretty much everyone apart from the F-104s, but most importantly, it allows you to outrun some air-to-air missiles. The A-5C, being based loosely off the MiG-19, also has fantastic energy retention. This is great in an isolated dogfight one-on-one, but if you get ganged up on by several different types of people, it is very hard to win the battle. Energy fighting is kind of a dead meta in War Thunder at the minute, and because the great energy retention means you can't really pull high AOA, it also makes you a fairly easy target for advanced air-to-air missiles, like the AIM-9Ls, and even R-60s at close range. This is probably the biggest weak point of the A-5C, along with the Q-5 and the MiG-19. Due to its incredibly good energy retention, it suffers pretty badly when it comes to its turn rate, especially at speeds above 800 kilometers per hour. In my experience of plane, it doesn't lock up, so to say, it just has a massive reduction in its ability to pull AOA. Over around 1,000 kilometers per hour, you do fly kind of like a Valtor, only with a lot more thrust. So if you do get into a dogfight, always try and take it into the vertical rather than a horizontal turn. Use your power and speed to put that into altitude and then come down on top of an enemy. To make our poor turn rate even worse, the A-5C does not feature any combat flaps, only takeoff and landing. The takeoff flaps are also pretty weak, breaking off the airplane at speeds exceeding 500 km per hour, and the landing flaps will snap at 450 km per hour. These can be used pretty well for stall fighting, but again, if you're going slow at top tier, you're usually going to get a missile up your arse. In order to get said unwanted missile up the arse, we do also have countermeasures on this plane. Granted, you only get 18 of them, so you will have to make sure you use them sparingly. I would recommend just taking out the flares, you don't really need chaff at battle rating 10.0. And to prevent you getting a little bit too carried away with your energy retention, we do also have an air brake, as well as a drogue chute to make it easier for landing. Some other features which aren't that helpful in my opinion are the RWR. Again, you don't really have a Fox 2 meta at 10.0 really. It can be useful if you're going up against things like the A-5C, which do have some semi-active radar homing, but again, not really that useful. Speaking of which, we also have a fire extinguisher, which literally has never been used at top tier ever. You usually just die instantly, or you don't really take damage. But again, can't really complain, it's a nice thing to have. But ladies and gentlemen, well, mainly gentlemen on this channel, but our pilot now gets CCIP, or Constantly Calculated Impact Point. The A-5C does not have a radar, so you can't actually use it for acquiring targets. You can use it for acquiring distances. The CCIP is for the cannons, rockets and bombs, and will give you a pipper in the UI, which will show you the impact point of where that missile or rocket or cannon will impact. This is a major buff for the A-5C, as before you had a lot of rockets and bombs, but you had no way of accurately dropping them or firing them. This change single-handedly has made the A-5C probably one of the best multi-role fighters in War Thunder in my opinion. You can now bomb a base on your way to the fight in an RRB match, or you're a pretty dedicated ground attacker in a ground realistic battle as well. But unfortunately for all players who don't want to suck dick, this plane is armed with the 23mm Type 23 2K cannons. I'm not sure of the lineage of these cannons, but they are that bad I'm assuming they just come from the Soviets. They have god awful muzzle velocity, and it's probably more practical for the pilot to open the cockpit and start shooting at them with his sidearm. Anyway, you get 120 rounds of ammunition per gun, for a total of 240. Despite their slow speed, these rounds do impact quite hard. If you do manage to connect a target, it is likely to kill it. They're also pretty good at killing ground targets, mainly pillboxes and medium tanks, which again gives newer players the option to just ground attack instead of dogfighting. We then come on to the rockets, and we have two types. Our first is the Type 90-1 Heat. These have a high explosive anti-tank warhead, giving them 283mm of penetration. They have a pretty decent top speed at 700m per second, making them quite easy to aim, especially with the CCIP. We then have the Type 130-2 rockets. These travel slower at 586m per second, but have a TNT warhead, giving them 83mm of explosive penetration. These rockets are much larger, meaning you can only carry 4 of them per pod, compared to the 7 rockets per pod of the Type 90s. I tend to take the latter, the Type 130s, as they generally seem to have much better damage. Regardless of which rocket you choose to take, you can take a total of 4 pods, giving you a total of either 28 rockets or 16 rockets. We then also have 2 different types of bombs. We have 250kg bombs with an explosive radius of 6 meters, 500-pound bombs with an explosive radius of 7 meters, and 750-pound bombs with an explosive radius of 9 meters. I generally take the 750-pounders into a match. They'll pretty much get rid of 5/8 of a bombing base, so you're not going to kill an enemy base single-handedly, but it is still a good chunk of XP. Moving on to the air-to-air missiles, and our first missile, and one you shouldn't use, is the AIM-9P. This is similar to the AIM-9J, which used to be very good. It's a rear aspect IR missile with a maximum lock-on range of 5.5 kilometers, and realistically it's more around 3. It's a pretty good missile with 20 Gs of maximum overload, but it's completely overshadowed by the next missile, the Matra R550 Magic 1. It has the same lock-on range as the AIM-9P, but has 35 Gs of maximum overload. It also has more explosive filler, giving it more lethality. Due to the addition of this missile alone, makes this plane one of the most powerful missile carriers at top tier. The Magics are very powerful, they pull a lot of Gs at high speed, but they are quite prone to being floored, which can make it quite tricky to take out F5Es as well as the A10s. But against targets like the J35A, or the T2 or the F1, basically any plane without flares is basically a free kill. I think regardless of historical fact, any plane above the battle rating of 9.7 should just get flares in general. I don't care if it's not historical, you try playing the J35A at 10.0. Anyway lads, that covers it for all the armament and the flight characteristics of the A-5C. What we have in game is a very capable multi-role strike aircraft, with incredibly good flight characteristics, and very powerful weaponry. This is probably one of the newest player-friendly jets at top tier at the minute, because it is just so flexible. In a typical match, I take out 4 750-pound bombs, 4 rocket pods containing the Type 130s, as well as 2 Matra Magic missiles. I'll then take off, stay low, lurk around the side of the battlefield, bomb the enemy base, shoot a few ground targets, mainly pillboxes, and when the enemies start to come to me, I will jettison any remaining stores, apart from the Matra Magics. You can then have a dogfight, you might get 1 or 2 kills, but you will usually get shot down, and that's a decent way to earn XP and Silver Lions if you're a newer player. Alternatively, you can take the A-5C out with clean wings, take off, put the plane into a 30-degree climb, and congratulations, you're above literally everybody on the enemy team. The only people that you would tend to meet at high altitude are the AV-8Cs and As, which you outperform massively with your afterburning engine and incredibly good energy retention. While the Harriers do have good missiles, you also have flares which negates them completely, and you should be able to rope-a-dope them or take them vertical and come down on top of them. The only real downsides of the A-5C in my opinion are the guns and the god-awful skin, but with the performance of this plane all round being exceptional, that is being quite picky. In the ongoing sales, I would highly recommend picking up the A-5C, and even when the sales end, if you're serious about grinding out the Chinese tech tree, or just want a good premium for grinding out Silver Lions, then in my opinion, the A-5C is a very good choice. Anyway lads, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please do consider leaving a like and subscribing, and be sure to let me know down below in the comments what vehicle you would like to see me review next. Finally, just like to say a big thank you to my YouTube members, Wolfie Fly, Joseph Metcalf, Tomster013, Just Someone, Dr. Bob, Deboa LX, Tans, William Tessier, and Lola Alfonsi. Thanks again for watching lads, and if you made it this far into the video, leave a comment saying Britain suffers,